All right, well, hello and welcome back to the final exam review series for intermediate algebra. This is Joe Brownlee with Palm Beach State College, and we are on question number 27. And the directions for number 27 are find the slope of the line. And they go ahead and give us a graph of a line. But the graph is a little small, at least probably to read on camera. So what I did is I went ahead and recreated the graph just on a larger scale. And so looking at the graph, the first thing that I always do is I like to see whether or not my line, my graph, goes through the x-intercepts, through one of the x-intercepts directly, meaning does it go through -1, does it go through -2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. If you look closely at your graph on the practice exam, you can see that my line goes through what looks like -3.5, but I could be wrong there, and it goes through maybe -3 3/4, so it's a little bit difficult to determine exactly where this line crosses the x and y intercepts. And so what I would recommend doing is look to see whether or not this graph goes through two other points that are easily identifiable. And if you look, you can see that this graph does in fact go through two other points, and probably a couple more, but the first two that I noticed was -6, +1, which is right here. And it also goes through the point -2, -2, which is right here. And so remember, if they want us to find the slope of this line, well, slope equals rise over run. And so since I've identified 2 points that this line goes through, I can just figure out what the slope is simply by counting the number of units this line, in this case, falls and then runs. So it falls 1, 2, 3 units. So if it falls, we know that's a negative, and then the number of units it falls is 3. Well, how many units does this run? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the slope of this line is -3/4. But let's say that you didn't want to visualize or count or graph or figure out what the slope of this line was just by determining how many units it shifts up or down. What if you wanted to use the slope equation or the slope formula? Well, we can just as easily do that. And this was number 26. And so the slope formula is the change in y over the change in x. And so what we do is we take our 2 points, which in this case are -6, 1 and -2, 2, and we'll assign the first point here to be x1, y1, and the second point here to be x2, y2. And all we do is plug and chug. So what is y2? Well, y2 is -2 minus 1, 1 is y1, over x2 minus x1. Well, x2 is -2 minus -6. And so when we reduce this, we get -2 minus 1. Well, that gives me -3. -2 minus a -6. Remember, this turns into a positive, right? Because I distribute this negative. So this is really -2 plus 6. Well, -2 plus 6 gives me a 4. And so again, my slope, whether I visually, physically count on my graph, my rise over run, or whether I plug it into the slope formula, you can see I still get the same answer either way. And so in this case, our slope is -3/4. We fall 3 and run to the right 4. All right, well, this was number 26. We are moving right along. We're going to jump into question number 27. I hope to see you there. Again, this is Joe Brownlee with Palm Beach State. Thanks for watching.